Hello, this is Catherine Clement in Boulder, Colorado, and this is our weekly Wellness Zoom for the Miracles Happen Focus on Wellness Facebook group. And I have an amazing man with me here today, Bill Mabry. He joined our group and he makes some of the most wonderful posts and is obviously very educated and has a lot of wisdom about health and wellness. And he and I have spoken a little bit, so I know a little bit of his story, and I know that he's come to learn these things through personal experience, not just reading them in a book. And of course, that's something that we all appreciate, those of us that are going through daily challenges, is for somebody to speak to us from experience, because if you haven't lived through it, you just don't know how it goes. So I want to welcome you on here, Bill. And we're just happy to have you. We've been trying for 3 Tuesdays in a row to get this done, and I'm just so glad that the internet's working this morning for us. Come on out here, Bill, and tell us more about you and your wife and what you've learned over these years. You've been at this a while, haven't you?
Yes, I have, Catherine. And first of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you today and whoever else is out there, because that's our main focus. Our focus is to try to touch a lot of lives, and that's our mission. And so my wife and I have been married for 43 years. We got 5 kids, 12 grandkids. We've been in the health and wellness industry for over 35 years, which means, that many years under our belt, you would think that we knew everything, and obviously that's not true. As a wellness coach and a strength and conditioning coach, sometimes we kind of get hung up on being in our little group and not being open-minded. And that's where my wife came in as a researcher, taught me how to be more open-minded to different products, different applications, and of course the scientific research that is out there that a lot of us miss because we don't continue education. A lot of new technology coming out, especially in the last, especially since 2007, a lot of new stuff has been introduced here to the United States. And so that's our focus right now. Obviously, I retired from the strength and conditioning. We sold the gym. And we wanted to focus more on helping people understand the circle of true health. And you understand it. But a lot of people don't, and what they think is that it's all about being on a whole food, plant-based diet, which is important, being a vegan and being a vegetarian, that is important, but there's more to it. There's more to the story than that. And so that's what we're here for. We're here to try to educate people about all the parts of the puzzle, because everything's a team, and your body is a team. It has to have all the players to function right. So that's basically what we're focused on.
That's awesome, because you are so right, Bill. And a lot of people just don't get that. They think they can take a pill and fix everything. That's what a lot of people think, and that is like completely wrong, even if you're talking about a supplement. Although there are some supplements out there that can make amazing differences in people's lives. So I'm not knocking them, but especially if you have like a genetic error like MTHFR. I mean, taking methylated folate can completely change your life. It's brought autistic kids out of autism and things like that. So it really is important that your body's getting, not just that you are eating the good food, but that your body is in the condition to actually assimilate and use it. And I know that you understand that component of it very well, and especially that water is pretty much the largest component in our body, and the quality of water, the amount of water that we drink is I mean, that's what it's all about. Because if you're putting polluted water in your body, you're making your body go through all these extra processes when it could be healing. Is that how you see it?
Yes, and that's what happened to me 4 years ago. Active hydrogen, the scientific name for active hydrogen is molecular hydrogen H2. And when I got introduced to that 4 years ago, because the information has only been here in the United States since 2007. Now there's hundreds and hundreds of scientific case studies that are proven the therapeutic effect of active hydrogen for the body. And active hydrogen is in electrolyzed reduced water, which has been here for the start of time. But like you said, our water, we've polluted our water, and there's only 7 countries left that actually have it coming out of the ground naturally. And one place is Lord France. If you Google Lord France miracle water, you're going to see blocks and blocks and blocks of people lined up in a big rock with a bunch of spigots. That's what they're getting. And the point you made about our body being the majority of water, well, just think, this is what I'm trying to explain to the other wellness coaches and the other health professionals, that you got to start when you're working with a client, you got to start somewhere. So you need to start where it should be started. And that's with water, because 75% of your body is water. Your brain is 80%. We do a class the second Tuesday of every month at a medical center, and I had a couple health professionals there, and the question I had to the audience was, who out there knows which organ has the most water? And I made sure the ones that had been to my class before didn't answer that. I wanted somebody else to answer it. And it's the lungs. Not too many people understand that. Health professionals, because active hydrogen is so new, and it's just not active hydrogen. It's just not that. It's everything. And that's part of the link. You still have to be your whole food, plant-based diet. You still have to make sure that you're eating it fresh from a local farmer. You and I both know that the antioxidants, that's what's going to build the immune system. That's what's going to help us fight diseases. Can't survive off of antioxidants or plants that have been shipped overseas or have been sitting in a warehouse for a year. And that's another thing that we try to educate people, is to let them know that the antioxidants in these foods have to be, which I personally like to use the word, they got to be alive. And that's what's going to heal the immune system. And that's what is the bottom line. That's what's the water, the active hydrogen isn't going to heal the body. The foods, they're all tools. They're tools that the body needs to strengthen the immune system.
Absolutely. And health it's a wheel. It's like there's all these different spokes that have to be in place. You have to have the right situations, and then it can roll. And I found out the power of live foods. I've been living off-grid. I'm semi-on-grid now. I have electricity now, but I was living in a gypsy wagon up on a mountaintop off-grid. And I was eating, because I had no access to go to the grocery store and stuff like that. I had food stored for months at a time. And unfortunately, I chose not knowing better, and also having to do with the amount of money that I had to work with. I wound up going on a lot of canned foods, because without refrigeration, keeping live foods around is difficult on a mountaintop. So during that time, my health started to deteriorate a lot, actually. And when I moved down here, even though I still don't have refrigeration, at least down here I can grow more live food, so there's a garden out there that I can go eat out of. And I know that that's live and what's going on it, except God only knows what's in the rainwater these days, but that's why medical ozone is important, to soak your veggies and fruits in before you eat them, because it'll clean all that stuff off. And I know your water cleans it off too, the water that you use. I just happen to have medical ozone, and that's what I use. But I found out I started growing sprouts, and that's when I really discovered the power of live foods, when I started eating sprouts, because you are talking about nutrition packed in there. And also when I started using moringa powder, which a lot of people haven't heard of that, but it's a very nutritious plant, very prolific plant. For those who can grow it, I highly, if you can keep up with it, grow it, because it can sustain you. I mean, it's a whole food. But of course, with adequate water, always. The water's a given. Like sometimes I don't mention the water because I just think, oh, that's a given. But people don't understand the importance of it. It's not a given to a lot of people. And also the lymph system, which that's a very important system to cleanse. And water has a lot to do with that. And usually people push quite a bit of water. I do, because I live in Colorado. It's very easy to get dehydrated. But when I'm actually trying to detox and cleanse my lymph system, I decrease my water intake so that my kidneys are not just flushing water. They can actually start flushing the toxins coming out of that. I just said it. Now I'm having a brain fart. The lymph system, because the lymph system is basically the sewer system of the body. I mean, certainly the gut is as well, but the lymph system is. And if your lymph system is plugged up, you can have all kinds of trouble going on. And a doctor, a naturopath that I really love, Dr. Robert Morse. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, Bill, but have you heard of him? He's like an old horse stock, and he just keeps it so simple, and he's right about a lot of it. I mean, he's curing people of stage 4 cancers and stuff that a lot of people have written off. So I have a lot of respect for the man, and he's working with these patients every day. But I did go on. He puts people on fruitarian diets, strictly fruit, for when they're really that bad off cancer-wise and stuff, or some other conditions. And I went on that I think I was straight fruit for 5 or 6 months, I guess. And I personally, and it is one of the things that happens, you lose a lot of weight. And I finally had to go back on some grains and things to kind of get my weight back up, because I'm about 90% of the time in bed, and I can actually get bed sores really easily if I'm just skin and bones, So I'm 5'8". I was getting down to about 120, and I'm like, okay, I knew there's a slippery slope there. You can really, go places you don't want to go, and then it's hard to put it back on sometimes. So I think, I don't think there's one cure for everybody, Bill. I think there's definitely components that we each need to address, but they might be addressed in a different way for each person, because we're so unique and we have so many unique things going on. Now, in this clinic that you and your wife present at, I think that's wonderful that you're getting out and doing that belly to belly. Do you do other things like this online where people that are homebound like I am can get involved? Or
Yes, what I actually also, we do we do a lot of in-home, I call them live demos, where I actually go into someone's house. Now, I love those. And the reason why I like them is because we have the whole family there. And a lot of, in our classes, when you're in a group setting, we work with a lot of major medical issues, people that have stuff, MS, cancer, acid reflux, diabetes 1 and 2, whatever. And so you get into a family atmosphere, people are more apt to let you know what their issues are. And that's another part of this. Is something I learned. I actually probably lost 31 years of my education because I was so close-minded. In the last 4 years, I have learned more in 31 years, just in the last 4 years, because I got so intrigued with the human body, and I don't specify, or I'm not specific with one part. I want to know all the parts. And obviously, I'm at the age now where I'm not going to learn what I want to learn. It's just not going to. There's just too much. My wife and I research, study. I take classes. I do whatever I can to get as much information as I can to be sure that this is what I like to say. Documentation overrules conversation, period. That's how it works. And so a lot of this stuff that when I do these these in-home demos, or I do a lot of blogging, and I found out, and I'm old school, so this is social media stuff is all new to me, but I realized about a year ago that the fastest way to get the information out to people, to the public, is social media. That's the fastest way. Now, you're going to get your critics. You're going to get the ones that are thinking that they think you're scamming them. But you know what? Documentation is always going to overrule. You know what I'm talking about. So that's how I'm doing it now. I'm actually really focusing on getting out to more people and let them research it. Don't listen to me. I will show you how to find it. Do your own research. And you know what? This is what the professionals are missing. And you touched on this, which makes me very happy that you touched on this, because very few health professionals, and I'm talking about these guys, these diet gurus, these diet guys that write these best-selling books, or these special diets. If you actually read, and I've read over the years, hundreds and hundreds of them, they always miss two of the most important links to health. Obviously, it's going to be water. None of them touch on water that much at all. And when they do touch on the water, they don't complete the story. They don't. There's a big story there that not all water's the same. I had to learn this. For 31 years, I was poisoning my clients. The other part is the lymphatic system. They don't touch on that. And that's, like you said, that's our waste treatment plant. If our lymphatic system is not healthy, and water plays a big part in that, and it doesn't have a pump like a heart to move it through the body, you got to move. So if you're bedridden or if you're wheelchair ridden, you've got to do, you can do arm exercises, whatever you can do to move that lymphatic system. Once you get that thing moving, things change. So and this is, so obviously you and I are on the same page. And so, which is really for me, is hard to find somebody. The group that I'm in, the Alkaline Advantage team I'm in, we actually have a group of wellness coaches that I've had the opportunity to work with that realize that, okay, we just can't teach about or talk about eating.
Right.
We got to talk about everything else. And so so that's been really a lot of fun. And it's going to take baby steps. The public is getting a little better out there, and they're wanting to know more information, but there's a lot of skepticism still. And the really, really hard part, and don't get me wrong, if I upset some of the doctors out there, that's tough. But they need to be open-minded too, because the information they're giving to their patients is not correct.
Yeah.
And so it takes people like us. And you know what? I've got people in my group that have no certifications. They've got no PhDs. They've got no fancy whatever you want to call them. But you know what? They know how to research. They know by experience. And I will put them toe-to-toe with any nutrition or any dietitian out there that has all that fancy stuff, because we educate them too. Mm-hmm. So it's those that are really digging in. There's so much good research in the internet, but you have to know how to navigate through it. So by us doing stuff like this, is hopefully we'll get out to enough people and they'll think to themselves, okay, it's not about drinking the right water. It's not about just eating the right foods, but it's about all parts of the puzzle. And you're, the circle of true health, this is kind of this is my opinion. That's all it is, and this is what I teach. Oxygen, you got to breathe.
Yep. Second
to oxygen is always going to be water, because that's the essence of life.
Yep.
Your organ can't operate. Electricity can't go through your body. A whole food, plant-based diet, or vegan or vegetarian, whatever you want to call it, that's the third part. But it's got to be organic. It's got to be pesticides and herbicide free. It's got to be from a local farm. Do we still know if it's good? No, we don't know, because I've done videos. I've done and tested them. The fourth one is going to be spirit and life, spirit and mind. You know, you've got to have a good attitude, good spirit. How about, this is a lot of what people forget, is hormone imbalance. My wife is actually, hormone imbalance should be before, I think, this is my opinion, because of my wife. She's an expert on hormone imbalance in women and men. She straightened me out real quick. But that probably should be before spirit and mind, because if the hormones aren't balanced, then your spirit and mind is going to be off.
Right.
And then the last part is going to be financial. If you don't have your finances in order, that's going to break the circle because of stress.
Yep.
I don't know that.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we follow that. So to answer your question, is social media is what I'm doing now.
I love the internet. When it first came out, I was a registered nurse for 20 years. I worked in neonatal intensive care. And so I was a nurse when the internet came out. And I was kind of like, oh, I don't want a cell phone. I don't want the internet. I don't want, I was anti-technology pretty much. But I soon found the true power of being able to connect with people heart to heart, especially with platforms like this. Oh my goodness, where you can actually look somebody in the eyes or whatever. And also, the internet has literally saved my life, because 11 years ago when I had this accident, these nerves that got trapped, they were trapped for 4 solid years, and I was completely suicidal during that time, until on the internet I was able to figure out what was wrong with me, and then I found a doctor that knew how to help me. And there were only 6 doctors in the US. Actually, there were 5 doctors. I found the 6th one. And it's a miracle. My life has been full of miracles. I'm twice out of a wheelchair, and I agree with you. If you're bed bound, there are still things you can do. One of the things that I do is just, if you have use of your arms, you can just do like percussion on yourself. Put some music on and have fun with it. Drum, and just do that all over your body. It's really, really good. And then for cardio, just like you said, put some music on and be the conductor. That they have the best cardiovascular health of anybody. Conductors do. And so a lot of people, if you still have your arms, you can do that. You can still do stretches. There's still things that you can do, and you have to push yourself. And when it comes to pushing yourself, you are the expert on your body. Like there's 6 doctors in the US that deal with what I have. So there's 6 physical therapists that understand it, basically. The other ones have no clue, and I see them mess up people all the time, further injure them with this condition, because they just don't understand it. And they tell people, you got to push through it. You got to push through it. Not with this, you don't push through it. There are a lot of things that you refrain from, because it really damages the nerve further. And especially if you're trying to heal the nerve, you can't keep doing things that re-injure it, So when I was a neonatal intensive care nurse, I also worked 2nd and 3rd jobs doing home health with the babies in their homes, because they would go home on ventilators, and that was one of my specialties, was ventilators. And I can tell you, going into that home, that the mother and father, even though I was a nurse, maybe with 20 years experience in the NICU, mom and dad are the experts on that child, always. And you are the expert on your body, always. And you are the one that has to heal your body. But you need tools, and that's why we're here to present things like this. You have to learn how to put those tools together, how they work for you. Because don't leave it up to the doctor, I'm telling you. The thing with doctors and therapists and nutritionists is, and I'm a nurse, so I can speak to this. We go to school and we learn from institutions that all of the education is put there by different industries like the milk and dairy industry and the meat industry and the pharmaceutical industry and all these industries that have money, you know, and the information there is not necessarily correct. You know, doctors are taught to prescribe this and this and this and this. When I got into nursing, let's see, I've been in bed 11 years. So 31 years ago when I was in nursing school, the things that they taught us, I mean, they just, you get a lot of education, but it's all driven by these industries. I mean, I don't know how else, you'd kind of have to be there to see, but for instance, when I used to work at an outpatient surgical center, we could always tell what prescriptions were going to be written that week by who was which pharmaceutical rep was bringing us lunch. They catered us lunch every day. The entire staff, they catered us lunch. I'm talking probably 60, 70 people. I don't know, a lot of people in there. And we had catered meals every day, Monday through Friday. And whichever farm rep was there paying for that meal was pretty much the prescription that got written. Like doctors, don't put your health in a doctor's hand. I mean, if you get in an accident and you need to go to the ER and get some stitches, do that. I've actually learned how to stitch myself because I don't even like to go for things like that. But I'm not saying that they all do it purposefully or with intent to harm. I don't believe that. I worked with many good doctors, but they were just as misled as the general public is. If you know what, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about, Bill.
Yeah, I do, and it is sad because there's an agenda, and that's where you know, I think we have the best emergency surgeons in the world as far as when it comes to emergency issues or anything, you know, any type of surgery like that. But then after that, in the recovery, and then what they do to people, then I don't agree with that. And what's really, you know, I've had experiences where I've interviewed with you know, physician assistants and things who are now given the authority to diagnose and write prescription medication. And I've had people that will consult with that has some kind of a disease or something, or a degenerative disease, and I'll ask them, I says, well, when you went in to get diagnosed, what did they do? And they said, well, they got on a computer and they asked me what my symptoms were. And they put the symptoms in there, and I said, oh, you mean a symptom checker? And they said, well, I don't know. I said, well, I have that. I have it on my own computer. And it's the same thing your doctor does. So you know about that. And so that's the stuff we're dealing with. And what I don't understand, and I can talk about this because it happened to me. I always tell vegans and vegetarians, you are not immune to getting a degenerative disease. You're not immune to it. I says you fully understand utilization of nutrients and enzymes and the type of food you're eating. Everybody, they all think that they're immune to it. You're not. You can still get it. And so your body can still be, and that's another thing, you've got to understand acid alkaline imbalance, but you got to understand the real story about it. And you probably know, you know this, the root causes of all diseases, very simple, inflammation. Okay, what's the root cause of inflammation? Acidosis. Well, what's the root cause of acidosis? This is what blows everybody's mind. Dehydration. That's the cause of it. And it's and you know what? Don't believe me. Do like you said. Get on the internet. It's your body. Don't listen to anybody else. When somebody says, okay, you need to take a drug, this brand drug. Okay, well, what's the side effects? Why do I need to take that? Well, because I need to buy a new car and I need to sell more of it. Because you don't know how many of people we've dealt with where we've taken all their prescriptions, and this is what my wife does. She gets their prescriptions. She will write a report out on the side effects and what they're for. And then she'll take that report and give it to them, and they'll say, well, I don't have this. I don't have that. Why am I taking that? And she'll say, ask your doctor. Okay, so that's what people need to do, is to research it themselves. Don't come to me. Don't come to, just do it yourself. You got to do it yourself. But people feel that they don't have the time to do it, and their bodies aren't that important. The American society, or the public here, their health is at the bottom of the list. Ask when you're consulting with a person, ask them, okay, what's your budget for preventive medicine? And they're going to look at you. Well, I don't know. Do you have a budget? Oh yeah, of course. I can't live without a budget. Well, where's your preventive medicine budget at? They don't have one. No. So that's something else we try to teach. You know what? And I can rattle on and on and on. And sometimes my wife has to hit me in the back of the head at her classes, because I get lost. I keep going on. So you can do the same thing to me. Just go like this.
No, you're doing great. I mean, this is exactly what this show is about. Is the reason I started it is because God told me to start this, quite honestly. And the reason was another lady who has this pain condition that I have, has this nerve damage that I have. About one a month are killing themselves because they don't have the spiritual component that you mentioned. They have lost hope because the medical, they've put all of their belief into their doctors and the medical system, and when the medical system can't fix them, and then their families discard them, their spouses discard them, their friends turn away because they can't deal with somebody in chronic pain. They just lose all hope and they take their life. And the other component of that is this last lady that took her life. It was because, this is even more heartbreaking to me, she actually was diagnosed. See, a lot of them take their life before they're even diagnosed because it's so hard to get the diagnosis. It takes years usually. But this lady had the diagnosis. She had the correct surgeon. The hospital, she didn't have the money. The doctor, surgeon agreed to do the surgery pro bono. The hospital would not allow him to do it, would not give him the suite to do it. And she had been fighting for years to get the surgery. And I can tell you, I got my surgery. Those nerves were trapped for 5 years. So we're talking every minute of every day being in such excruciating pain that you're just trying to get to the next minute, literally. And nothing, not morphine, not IV fentanyl, nothing. Unless it completely puts you out, nothing helped the pain. When they're trapped like that, you have to have the surgery and get the pressure off the nerves, right? That's the only thing that helps. And she was just at the end of her rope, but I thought, maybe if I do something like this, there's a bunch of us art activists that are trying to get these conditions taught in medical school, because they don't even teach about these conditions in medical school. And we have been petitioning ACOG for, 2 years now at least mention them in medical school so that people don't get misdiagnosed for so many years that they finally give up and take their life. Can't you just mention it? I mean, you can mention all this other stuff. They've made, since I was in nursing school, there used to be one DMR. Do you know what book I'm referring to? It's the book that lists the mental health conditions. There used to be one. Now I think there's 4. There's probably more than 4. And the reason is they keep designing mental health diagnoses so that they can give them a pill. They come up with the pill first, and then they come up with the diagnosis to match it. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. They've got kids, pediatrics are near and dear to my heart. They are putting kids as young as 4 years old on antidepressants and antipsychotics. And it could be completely diet and environmentally related. They don't even address water or diet or environment, or, they just prescribe these pills. The pharmaceuticals are not even tested on the kids, because that would be immoral to test. I mean, it's just so insane. The doctors are probably so glad that I retired or got thrown off of a horse and couldn't be a nurse anymore, because I used to argue with them all the time. If they'd say, run this test, I'm like, why? What are you going to change in the care plan based on the results of that test? Because if you can't give me a good reason, I'm not, for one, sticking the baby, and I'm not, for two, putting another $1,000 bill on their maxed out health insurance. This whole health insurance thing is such a farce. It's draining people dry, and then when they get ill, it doesn't pay for what they need. And ooh, I'm getting on a. I'll let you talk now. Get on my soapbox.
No, you're like me. You get upset because here we have something, or we have information that can actually educate people and help them. And we're being cornered by the medical professionals, or CDC. And now, because now I have ammunition, since 2007, active hydrogen is now known to the United States, because now they're publicizing it in the journals, where it's been in Asia and Europe for decades. So I have local doctors here that I've been able to not convince, but they saw proof of how well active hydrogen works on their blood tests with their patients. Well, every one of them will tell you the same thing. If I were to prescribe active hydrogen to my client, I would lose my license, because it's holistic, right? So what do? They refer them to me, and then I get on the phone with them, and obviously the doctor's already told me what's going on with them. But I have a friend of mine, or a friend who's a doctor here in town, where I was a strength and conditioning coach for most of the high schools in the area, and I did as a kid 25 years ago, and we became friends. Well, he had a patient that was on 150 units of insulin a day, and he was taking metformin probably for 4 years straight. And this is a kicker. I've never heard of this. Maybe you have, but this is the first time I've ever heard of this. He was on 3 different types of metformin. I didn't know there was 3. I thought there was only 1. I had no idea. But anyway, obviously he's been on insulin for I don't know how many years, and obviously the metformin's not working because his blood sugar is still high. So how's that working, right? Well, then he came to us, and I took one of my devices, put it in his house, let him use it, because he needed the active hydrogen right out of the device. He needed the potency of it. Well, guess what? And I didn't change his diet or nothing. We got his insulin down to 5 units a day, and the blood test, the improvement in the blood test, the doctor saw it, and so the doctor's wife came to my class, and she wanted to know what the heck is going on here, because Dan was good friends with the doctor. Well, long story short here, the wife went home, raved about it, which is what happens all the time. The wife sees it, she gets it, but the husband's going to be the one that says, that's junk. He's the expert, right? He's got the knowledge and the experience in molecular hydration, so he knows everything. But anyway, she said, well, honey, she says, you saw Dan's blood, and Dan was actually, his kidney counts were really high, which means his kidneys were failing. They went down. Well, this is what the doctor told his wife, because his wife related it back to me. If I were to bring this up to my patients, I would lose my license. And you know what? I'm thinking, and he's a friend of mine, how in the world do you sleep at night? Don't they sign some kind of a contract when they become a doctor, that they're supposed to give their patients the most honest and best information out there? I thought they were.
They take an oath to do no harm, and they break that oath every day they practice, most of them.
So that's why we have to, you and I, and the wellness coaches that I know, we have to get out of our little private little box, take a chance. We're being beat up every day by the skeptics. We're being beat up every day by the people that are in the medical business because that's their way of living. But you know what? I really don't care. If you don't want to read my blogs or you don't want to see my videos, don't watch it. Or if somebody, because you're going to have haters, always. But I really don't care because I'm 64 years old. I beat cancer. I beat a lot of other stuff I had, and I did it all by being on a whole food, plant-based diet, and I drank a gallon and a half of active hydrogen, which is electrolyzed reduced water, daily. I didn't do the traditional. I wasn't going to. I already knew I didn't have a chance if I did. So that's basically. And you know what? And you get these people that say, well, my dad went to the Gerson Clinic in Mexico. You got 3 or 4 great clinics there. And now the Gerson Clinic, I guess from what I understand, they don't take anybody that's been on chemo now, I guess. So, well, my dad did that, and he, and it didn't work for him. He still died. Okay, let's dig a little deeper. You know what the word consistency means? That's the key right there. You can't just do it for 3 months and think, well, okay, it didn't work. No, you can't do that. You got to do it the lifestyle forever. And then when your doctor tells you you're cancer free, you don't stop. Because if you go back to an acidic environment, you're going to get sick again. Because if you truly understand cancer cells and how it works and what stem cell cancer is, you truly understand how all that works, cancer doesn't go away. Unless you catch it at a certain point, hibernates. It's going to be in your body. But at least it's hibernating and you have it under control with whole food, plant-based diet, vegan, vegetarian. Juicing was a big deal for me. And that was a shocker because of my profession. My wife and I competed back in the days. We were 1.5 grams of protein, animal meat protein per pound for pound. When I was competing, I was 230 pounds. That's a lot of protein. It's animal meat, all it was. And then she was just telling somebody here, Bill is now a whole food, plant-based eater, 98% raw, which was blowing people. How could he do that? Well, when you have a medical issue, you do it. You do it. It's the only way you're going to get through it. Then your palate changes. So doubles didn't taste good to me anymore. By swinging in homemade pies on Friday nights, the sugar tore me up after a while. Had to stop. If you understand acid alkaline imbalance, if you understand that you got to detox on a daily basis, your body is going to flush itself out and your palate's going to change. You have no choice. You can't fight it if you follow that protocol. Foods are going to taste different. Your body's going to want the good stuff. And so, I was a supplement. I mean, we competed. I'd spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month on supplementation, trying to build more muscle mass. And then when we go through our 12-week diet down, metabolic damage, oh my gosh, as soon as we got off stage that next morning, metabolic damage set in and we were ruined for months. And it worked havoc on her hormones and it worked havoc on my hormones, continually doing that kind of stuff. Dieting like that is the worst, unhealthiest thing you can possibly do. And somebody asked me, emailed me, want to know my eating program. What do how many calories do you do? How much protein? I said, you know what? I don't count calories. I don't count protein intake. I don't count carbs. I don't do that. I says, I listen to I know my body, and when it's hungry, You know, no, most people that are hungry are actually thirsty. I have a big glass of water, and if you're supposed to have food, that water is not going to stop the hungry. So that's when you have an apple or some kind of a fruit. I mean, I do multiple colors and stuff. So I said, okay, I'll send you my plan, and you can go buy it, and you can check, you know, if it's, you know, that could be your base. And of course, I get a text back. I can't do this. Well, why not? Well, I just can't do it. I says, it's not that you can't do it. It's just the timing's not right yet. So what do most people want to do, Catherine? They want to wait until they get some kind of degenerative disease, and then they come back to us. Okay, well, Japanese are the most healthiest people in the world. And why is that? Because they focus on preventative medicine to prevent it. And this is nothing new for us. I mean, it's been around forever. It's on the internet. You and I both know it. But how many people do you talk to, they don't know that? I mean, how many people do you know? I mean, if I'm in a group of wellness coaches and dietitians and nutritionists and whatever, and I bring up the word active hydrogen, how many of them are going to know what that is? Or how about if I say, okay, go back to your doctor, because we're trying to find the root cause of the issue. That's what we do. We look for the root cause. Go back to your doctor and ask him to explain to you acid-alkaline imbalance. And how important is it to know that? See what happens. See how I ramble on? I told you, just go like this if I'm talking too much.
No, I'm laughing because your doctor would look at you like you were insane. The only thing, now doctors do understand pH balance, especially if they are working in the emergency room or, you know, like I worked in neonatal intensive care. When we have a premature baby that's born, the very first thing we do, other than oxygen, of course, is we test the acid in their blood, and they're always very, you know, they're in acidosis huge, and so we have to adjust that. We start giving them bicarb, and we start doing things to bring their pH balance back to where it needs to be. What people don't realize is that just because you're not sick today doesn't mean you haven't had something brewing for a long time. And these cancers that come up, I work with people with cancer because I do, unfortunately, what is considered an underground treatment, you know, because in other countries, especially countries that have socialized medicine, they use medical ozone. But here in the United States, you know, medical ozone takes care of MRSA, takes care of VRE, all of these antibiotic resistant bugs that we have these days. If they would just use medical ozone in the hospitals, and especially during surgeries and stuff, all that would disappear. You can hardly go into a hospital these days without picking up MRSA. And for those that don't know what MRSA is, it's methicillin-resistant Staph aureus, and it's a bug, a bacteria that has become immune to the antibiotics that we have because they've overused them for so many years. Just like if you use a pesticide, you use the same pesticide. God, please don't, but I'm just making a point. If you use the same pesticide on your garden, the bugs there will you know, nature will survive. So they'll change, they'll adapt so that doesn't kill them anymore. And that's basically what these bacteria have done with our antibiotics. But medical oxygen, medical ozone, just destroys them. You know, fungus, bacteria, virus, all this stuff. And sadly, the people that come to me, and I can understand why the Gerson people don't want to work with somebody who's had chemo, because typically by the time I get people, they've been through chemo. Chemo completely destroys your gut. To try to get you to absorb nutrition after you've had chemo is like running up a down escalator. I mean, it's just so difficult. That doesn't mean I don't work with those people. I do. because I know that they trusted their doctor. They see their doctor as God, and the doctor said, this is what you need to do. And they were scared to death from the big C word, because the medical establishment would have you believe that there's no cure for cancer when there are many cures for cancer. So you just, oh my goodness, Bill, I know you and we could go on about this forever, but this is near and dear to my heart, because my grandmother had 11 brothers and one sister. All but 2 of them died of cancer. Treatment, not cancer. They died of cancer. Treatment. They
Right.
died of the radiation. They died of the chemotherapy. They died of the surgeries that were worthless. There's a time when surgery is an option and when it's necessary, but most of the time, like with my grandmother, they didn't test her. Well, they put her under, cracked her chest, did the surgery, and while she was under, they tested her lymph nodes. And I'm like, oh my God, at least test the lymph nodes first, do a PET scan or something before you crack an old lady's chest open. Sadly, I had a missing daughter at the time. It's a long story. Like, I couldn't be as involved in my grandmother's care as I needed to be. I couldn't be there with her. But it just kills me when these people, especially our elders, they were taught that doctors are gods and you have to do everything they say. So when these people come to me and they have no health and they have no money, I have a treatment that costs me pennies to administer. Pennies. Yet if you go to doctors, they'll charge you $500 or $600 because it's unique or whatever, but people can't afford that. They're literally dying in their homes because they cannot afford the care. And unfortunately, they've been brainwashed to believe that all these natural things don't work. They do work. When I told you my health took a downward spiral when I lived up on the mountain eating the canned foods.
Kelly, I just wanted to, can I run and get my cord
Yes.
real quick?
Sure. Go ahead.
I think my phone's going to go dead.
Okay, go right ahead.
Go get it real quick. Talk.
Okay. My health, when I was on all those canned foods, my health took a downward spiral. I actually started having blood in my stool, and so I went to the doctor, of course, and they did a colonoscopy, and they found these polyps, and they said that, they told me I was very, very high risk cancer, that these particular kind of polyps, it's not that they might turn into cancer. They do turn into cancer if you don't cut them out of there before they do. And they're very, very fast growing. So I have to have colonoscopies every 3 years. So I asked the doctor, I'm like, my God, are you telling me for every 3 years for the rest of my life, and because of where my nerve damage is, I actually have to go under anesthesia for these things? Otherwise, my blood pressure goes way up in the 200s, and I'm at risk for a stroke. So I said, what can I do to prevent these things from growing? This is an idiotic way of going about this, cutting them out every 3 years, I said, what can I do to prevent them? And he just looked at me, and he says, well, the only thing I can tell you is if you stop eating meat, it will decrease your chance by 40%. 40%. I almost fell off I was like, you've got to be kidding me. People don't know this. And that is the day I quit eating meat. So if your health is important enough to you, you're gonna take on some of these changes that you need to make in your life. That's just how it is. If your life is important enough, and unfortunately, people are kept in such a state of fear through the media, these television shows. I don't own a television. I haven't for years. I just don't pollute my mind with that stuff. But people are just in these modes. Sometimes I think they just really want to die. Like, they're just so tired of suffering in this life that they just want to eat that, whatever it is they want to eat, and enjoy the last few days that they have. But, I've been to that place of no hope, and I can tell you there is hope again. And when you get sick and you're about ready to die, you're going to change your mind. So you might as well just change your mind now and go ahead and start doing these preventive things like Bill and I are talking about, because you think you want to be there, but when you get there, you're going to change your mind. And then sadly, it takes getting there for most people to take the necessary steps. And it just breaks my heart. I see it every day. And like you said, Bill, people cut us down for these things that we try to talk about. I'm not into fear mongering, but I will say there's a lot to be said for knowing how to keep and maintain your health and take care of yourself during sickness, because the hospital may not always be there. You don't know. Like I said, right now, if you go to the hospital, you're likely to walk out of there with MRSA. So try to avoid it as much as you can, literally. But have you ever read that book, Dr. Heal Thyself, or something like that? I actually took care of the man that wrote that book's father. I took care of his father. I did IV chelation and stuff for him when I worked for a naturopath. And there's so much truth in that. You are your own physician. Actually, God is your physician. And God has designed this amazing body. If you have never studied how your body works, it's fascinating. It is just fascinating. And it can heal, it can regenerate, it can rebuild, but you have to be giving it the components it needs to do that. And you have to have the mindset and the belief and the knowing that it can do that. Bill, we're almost here at the top of the hour. I have so enjoyed speaking with you, and I want you to just come out and give some last words of wisdom here. And I hope that you'll come back again, though, because I know that we're on the same page, and there's so much that we could talk about. So thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it.
One thing I want to mention real quick about the pH, that's one thing that we also try to explain to people, that there's different pH. You got the pH of the blood and you got the pH at the cellular level. And a lot of doctors don't explain them both. So I've had many people that come back to me and says, well, my doctor says my alkalinity level is fine. I go, well, how did he test it? And he said, by the blood. I says, okay, that's great. Your blood's always going to be at 7.35 or 7.45. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the cellular level. And that's why I got so intrigued with molecular hydrogen. That's what it's teaching me. So, hey, I just want to say thank you so much to have me on. This was a lot of fun. I just love interacting with somebody that is on the same page. And I anytime I talk to somebody like you or whoever, I still learn stuff. There's stuff that you said I didn't know about. So that's what's so cool about being able to interact with each other, because I can learn what somebody else knows. So I just want to thank you for having me on there today. And hopefully, maybe who's ever out there listening, hopefully we've given some good advice to them and they can take it and do whatever they want with it.
Absolutely. And Bill, if you wouldn't mind, or if you're open to it, give your contact information or how people can get in touch with you, because you are a wellness coach. And if they're looking for someone that can help them in that capacity, how could they reach you?
Well, you can go. You can go to my Facebook page. It's Drink Nature's Water. I have a lot of my my health blogs on that, where there's a lot of research on there. Or you can contact me on it's drinknatureswater@gmail.com. So it's Drink Nature's Water. It's all one word at gmail.com, and you can go on there too, or go to my Facebook. But probably the Drink Nature's Water page on Facebook. Like I said, I'll have a lot of stuff on there, videos. I just did another video today. My wife and I, we have a blast doing these things. But I had somebody criticize me when I was cleaning my vegetables with the 11.5, and I started. I mean, you know what? Though that's okay, because I was the same way 4 years ago. So I was in their same shoes. But you know what? It just made me, okay, I posted a picture, now I'm going to do a video, and documentation will always overrule anything, period. Conversation, it won't, I mean, so I did it. And so that's going to be posted on my Drink Nature's Water page, probably in about an hour. But boy, I'll tell you what, it's going to open your eyes up, and I'm backing it with with Dr. Oz in a show he had done. So there's my documentation. So be looking for that. And I guess we're done.
That's awesome. I look forward to checking out your website and your Facebook page. And yeah, because you're in the Miracles Happen Focus on Wellness group. We have a group on Facebook, and I recently made a post about in Brazil, they're putting these pesticides in the water because of this Zika virus, and it's, oh my goodness, it's unbelievable because these pesticides that they're putting, the way that they kill the pests is that they affect their ability to actually grow, and so they're finding all of these in Brazil now. All these babies are being born with anencephaly, which I have worked with children like that, and these children don't live very long. I mean, you're lucky if they can live to be a year old. It is unbelievable the things that around the world that people don't even know about. That's in their water source. And for people that don't understand about fluoride and things like that in your water source, oh my gosh, that's a whole nother show. But you've got to understand what you're putting in your body. You have to understand, just like you said, detox is a daily thing. These people that say, oh, I'm doing a 5-day detox, I'm going to do a 3-day detox. Save your money. Your money. It takes years to detox, especially the lymph system. To get to the stuff that's in your brain, holy smokes, it takes years of doing the right things to actually get that lymph stuff cleaned out of there. But it can happen, and it takes consistency, just like you said, Bill. I love that word. It takes doing it every day. And yeah, you can cheat a little bit once in a while if you have to. You know what? I don't even feel like cheating anymore because my tastes, like you said, they've completely, to me, like a strawberry is the most delicious thing in the world. Your taste buds get so refined, and you'll just find that your energy, at least for me, my heart, my energy feels better not having all of the cruelty involved with the meat industry and dairy industry as well. So, and that's on yet another show. So Bill, thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. I know we're going to get together again, and I'm checking out your pages. I will have this recording up probably within a couple of hours. So I look forward to seeing your stuff in the group, and we just really appreciate everything that you do, because I know that you take the criticism. I know about dealing with the haters, and I don't care about the haters, because you know what? If I knew then what I know now, my grandmother would probably still be with me.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all I need to know.
Yep.
Is that I can save somebody else's grandma or somebody else's child because of the things that I've learned. So you can hate on me all you want. I'm still going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, you know what? And we both, like this one little quote I like to say, you and I both have found our purpose on earth.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And we didn't just pick it. It was given to us by God.
That's right.
He gave it to us.
That's right.
Doors are open.
That's right. Keep shining that light, Bill. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.